Good day, everyone. Today we will learn the first part of vector addition by component method, which is to calculate the x and y components of vectors directed at an angle. Let's get into it. Components of vectors directed at an angle can be negative or positive, depending on their direction. Vector components, which are directed upward and to the right, are positive, while vector components, which are directed downward and towards the left, are negative. Let us evaluate the x and y components of vectors a, b, c, and d based on their directions. Vector a is slanting upward to the right, so its rightward x component is positive, and its upward y component is also positive. Vector b is slanting upward to the left, so its leftward x component is negative, and its upward y component is positive. Vector c is slanting downward to the right, so its rightward x component is positive, and its downward y component is negative. Lastly, for vector d, it is slanting downward to the left, so its leftward x component is negative, and its downward y component is also negative. To calculate x and y components based on trigonometry, we use these equations. Ax is equal to a cosine theta, and ay is equal to a sine theta. Take note that in order for us to use these equations, our angle should start from or be adjacent to the x-axis, just like these angles. If the given angle is adjacent to the y-axis, we should compute first the angle that is adjacent to the x-axis. We do this by subtracting the given angle from 90 degrees. So theta x is equal to 90 degrees minus theta y. Let us consider some examples. A hiker hikes 700 meters at 60 degrees north of west. Determine its x and y components. The displacement is 700 meters and the angle is 60 degrees north of west. This angle is already adjacent to the x-axis. The upward y component is positive and the leftward x component is negative. Dx is equal to negative d cosine theta. We attach a negative to the equation since dx is directed to the left. Dy is equal to d sine theta. We attach a positive sign to the equation since dy is directed upward. Let us consider another example. A camper hikes 800 meters at 50 degrees east of south. Determine the x and y components of his displacement. The camper heads 50 degrees east of south, traveling 800 meters. The rightward x component is positive and the downward y component is negative. The angle here is not adjacent to the x-axis, so we need to determine the angle from the x-axis. Using this equation, we get the angle adjacent to the x-axis, which is 40 degrees. Dx is equal to positive d cosine theta. This is positive since dx is directed to the right. Dy is equal to negative d sine theta. We attach a negative sign to the equation since dy is directed downward. Here is another example. Before you proceed to the solution, pause the video and try to solve the problem by using our discussion. Here is a solution.